Hi. This is another episode of our virtual steam up. One of the things we've always done in our steam ups is we tend to fix things or try to take things apart and make them better. Sometimes we're successful and sometimes we're not. Anyway, here's the grasshopper. I have removed quite a few parts on it. One of the things I think it needs is a better lubricator, but in the process I started to look at all the parts in here and there was a lot of slop in the valve gear, so I have made new bushings, and I'll show you a picture of what they look like in a second here. They're very, very tiny. These are the bushings. I don't know, you probably can't see them, but I'll get a nice photo of them and intertwine it into the video. Anyway, this is also another episode of Ernie's Workshop series. Not really qualified to show anyone how to make something, but I'll show you what I did to make those bushings. Okay, as you can see, we have an 1/8 inch ER collet. It's a number 25 collet, holding a piece of, hopefully you can see that, 1/8 inch brass rod that has to be, I need to take off about 2/1000ths of an inch to make it fit in the grasshopper engine. And then it's center drilled and drilled with a number 49 drill, which seems to be just the right size, even though it measured a little bit bigger than that. It's a nice tight fit, and here's what I did. The first thing we did was move this over here, zero this tool out. Once I zeroed that out, and once we started cutting, we just cut 2/1000ths more. That's all it needed to be, and then cut it off. Drilled it first and then cut it off, and that's the bushing that goes inside the grasshopper valve parts. Kind of hard to see, but basically the inside that part of the engine, there's a rocker arm that moves the piston valves up and down, and a little tiny brass bushing that runs inside there. I'll get one of them out here, show you what they look like. Here is the bushing. Probably can't see it in focus, but that's how tiny it is. Here's the gauge. You can see what it looks like next to the gauge. Caliper. So it's very tiny. OD measured on the old one 0.117. The ID was 0.074. So I turned it down to 0.12 on the outside, and the inside I just used the number 49 drill, which is just a little bit smaller than that 0.074 inside diameter, and it measured exactly 0.099 inches long. That's what I was doing. So, not sure if this project is going to come out and it's going to work, but the next thing I'm going to do is adjust everything, time it, and then see if the engine itself will run on air with the new bushings. And then after that, we'll start making a new boiler, and preferably a tiny little gauge which will fit back here, and be able to regulate the pressure, and that's the idea. And here it is running. On air. Seems to be sounding a lot smoother. relatively smooth running. It doesn't run really good in the other direction, so I guess I'm just going to be happy with it running one way or the other. But at least it runs, and it'll run at about 25 pounds of pressure. Actually, that's 20, all the way down to 15. I can regulate it with the valve there. I can slow it down. Anyway, there it is running on air. Next thing to do is to work on this boiler back here. I'm going to drill some holes in it and put a pipe on it, and then run a new steam line from under the boiler. Steam line rests right inside the fire chamber there. It's the black side, the one on the right. Run a line to that new valve, then run it through the oiler, which is on the top side, and then back into the steam distribution block, which is on the back end here. In fact, we don't even have this open all the way. If we had it open all the way, depending on where you position it, it's about the quietest I've ever heard it run. Hi, this is the next part of this project that I've been working on. As you can see, now has a throttle, which is just a little globe valve on the side, where the steam runs from the boiler through the valve into the lubricator, displacement lubricator now, and then back out, back into direction block and onward. This does work with air, but there are so many leaks since I just put it together. I still have to seal this valve connection and make gaskets for them so that they will be sealed up. And then we'll do a video of it running on air. One little last problem, the fuel tank doesn't quite fit. There's a little bit of interference with this tube and the piping there and the frame and the elbow there, so I'm going to have to do some carving on this. I may just cut out part of this flange here so that there's room for it to fit, and the pipe can just be tweaked and bent just a tiny bit to make it fit. Also, the windshield skirt has to go back onto the burner. This last thing to go on. And it's late, so I'm going to knock it off, and we'll come back tomorrow morning and finish this off. This is the virtual steam up repair job.
There are never any guarantees, so I think that if you're a gardener or a beginning gardener, you learn.
there goes that one. Wow. That doesn't like that. That's quite something, the way that bent. It just whipped right around, whipped off. And it would have been nice to cut it with that, but ain't gonna happen. Well, welcome to another episode of Ernie's Workshop. I'm going to use the Dremel tool. We've started to cut this fuel tank. I would put the Dremel tool in the same category as the vice grip as far as destroying things. Nearly cut my arm off putting that in there. I don't know why it was so badly imbalanced, but as soon as I turned it on, it just bent like mad. You would think they would make that out of something other than soft steel. Maybe it's just made out of butter. I don't know. But anyway, so we've gotten through a little bit cutting here, as you could see in the beginning of the video, but not sure how we're going to progress. Maybe I'll just take a saw and cut it off now. Yep, here it is, the good old hacksaw. When I cut something, this is the tool to go to. It does a remarkable job of ruining just about everything that you own, including this poor little grasshopper. Yeah, doesn't seem to want to cut. Maybe I'll start it from this direction. See if it'll work better this way. No, that's not going to work either. Next thing is take a pair of pliers and just bend it out. There it goes. It's out. Here's the part. Now we can take a file and clean it up and make it look really pretty. That's the way you do it. It's best to use a small file when you have it, but unfortunately I have this big metal rasp, and maybe this will suffice in here. Anyway, I'm going to see if I can find a smaller file. Put the heat shield, windshield, there's a little baffle here. So if it's operated in the wind, which is just about everywhere in Illinois, keeps the flame from blowing out, maybe. And this is a good trick that John Garrett showed me, and I've been using it ever since. This is ordinary toilet bowl wax, and it allows you to stick the screw onto the screwdriver, making it much easier to put in these tiny little 2mm screws, which are miserably small. Always a good idea to just start them first. Don't screw them all the way down, because you can use the clearance hole of the item you're attaching as a means for holding the screw tight in the hole and align it with the I don't know if any of this is coming through. If it is, then get that screw straight. One other problem I have, I don't know if this project is going to be successful for a while. I don't have any RTV rubber to seal things up. So I have made gaskets out of whatever material I had around, and we'll see if it works. Many screws now, of which I don't know which ones work. We'll try these. It's always helpful if you keep the hardware separated and labeled, so you don't have that problem that I'm having right now, which is I don't know where things go. Other than the Lion, which is the other one, which is really fiddly. This one's pretty good for being fiddly. We have the screw started. Once you get one started, they all go together. Well, this is the end of the day, and I've managed to put the whole thing back together. Got the fuel tank that was modified. There'll be some photos of that showing that part. Got the wheels back on. It took me a good 2 hours to get that on. Aster must have made a mistake in this, and when they manufactured the axle journals, they never tapped them. They just put a clearance screw. You probably can't see it, but there's a flathead screw that goes through the frame and then into the journal, and then there's this little floating brass bar underneath, which is impossible to position there because it's way inside. And you have this thing in the middle here, and the wheels have to go in straight head on, and all that has to be in perfect alignment to start the screw. So it took a while to get all that just in a line, jigged up so that it would stay together, threaded in. It's like a Chinese jigsaw puzzle. You need to hold the two axles in place, this bar that's on the bottom of the journals, the 4 journals, the little brass bar on both sides, and start a screw at the same time. It is very difficult, to say the least. Since I did find some sealant, I sealed things up, and we'll see how it works, but I'm going to leave it for a day. So this is all we'll see for today. I'm going to post this video, and then hopefully tomorrow we'll fire it up. But today I can't do anything else with it. It does run good on air, just the way it is, with the new valve and the lubricator. I don't think you saw this in the earlier part of the video, but this was inside the Dremel. When I turned it on, the thing whipped around, and I could barely hold onto the Dremel tool as it decided to nearly cut me in half. But I can't believe that's how they made that thing out of that soft whatever it is. I think that is it for today. So hopefully everybody's having a good time watching some crazy videos. See you all tomorrow.